What would you do if you found swastikas in your front lawn or on the driveway or on the sidewalk by your home? Well, I had such an incident as the chaplain at McGill University in Montreal, rabbi of the Chabad house. I came in, parked my car in the back and came in, and I get a phone call from the McGill Daily. Rabbi, what do you say about the swastikas outside the Chabad house? I don't know. I didn't see it. And then I put down the phone. Another call from the Jewish newspaper. Rabbi, what do you say about the swastikas? I don't know. Let me go outside and find out. I went outside and lo and behold, two swastikas there on the sidewalk. Thinking, am I going to make a big noise about this? Invite more evildoers, copycatters? I called a friend over. I said, he's a painter. Chaim, what do you think? I said, you know what? He took a spray can of paint and he made tic-tac-toes. And we played 2 games of tic-tac-toes. That's what every swastika should become. Transform it, that evil, to game of tic-tac-toes. Well, let's hear a true story, by the way. Let's hear now Dennis Prager and his thoughts on anti-Semitism and the current question of the swastika that is being sold on T-shirts.
When you saw what was going on with Kanye and the things he was saying, and then boom, Adidas and his marriage, and everything you listen to, his comments about Hitler on Alex Jones, and now he's been kind of low key for the last 6 weeks, which I think is a great idea. The fact whoever he listened to, good for him to kind of taking a break, and apparently low key he got married to somebody that no one knows about. It was done in a very low key way. Now I don't know if this is true or not. It's just what the media is saying. How did you process what he was saying about Jews? Were you upset? Were you frustrated? Were you saying, well, partially he's right about this? Well, he's not right about this. I can't believe he said that. What feelings did you get when he was saying what he was saying?
Well, I don't work on feelings as much. I try to think through rationally. Like I wrote a book on anti-Semitism. I have fought it all of my life. The book is called Why the Jews? And there's every population has a percentage of people who hate Jews. There are a whole host of reasons why people might hate Jews. And as I point out in my book and in the piece I wrote on Kanye West, one of my columns, non-Jews need to know something. Anti-Semitism destroys societies. I'm not saying it because I'm a Jew. I'm saying it because it's true. No society has survived anti-Semitism. Spain was one of the greatest world powers. Then it had the Spanish Inquisition and the Spanish expulsion of the Jews in 1492. And have you heard from Spain in the last 500 years? It went downhill with the speed of a skier after it kicked out its Jews. Germany was the most vibrant culture in Europe before Hitler. Most vibrant in the arts, in philosophy, in science. And then they had the Holocaust. What do you hear from Germany? Volkswagen? I mean, what the economy is? Can people even name a living German? It's not to mention what was done to Germany as a result of Hitler being in power. The Germans, the losses in Germany, the rape of German women by Soviet soldiers. It is, you're an idiot if you're a non-Jew and you don't fight anti-Semitism. I don't even care if people like Jews. I care if people hate Jews. You don't like Jews? Don't like Jews? Fine. It doesn't. Everybody has a pet group that they may not like. Okay, the Germans didn't like the Poles didn't like the Russians don't like the Ukrainians. Everybody dislikes his neighbor. The British didn't like the Irish didn't like the British. It doesn't mean a damn thing. Jokes I used to hear that were called Polish jokes, when I went to England, the exact same jokes, but it was the Irish. The exact same joke. That was what was so funny about it. So it's dislike or don't like and hate. They're a very, very, very different thing. If a man can say Hitler was a good man, he is a sick poop. He's a sick puppy. I mean, there's something very scary about such a human being. And by the way, if you have to be a Jew to be offended by that, if somebody said Stalin was a good person, I would think the person is a sick puppy too. And it wasn't Jews who Stalin went after mostly. He killed 6 million, 5 million Ukrainians deliberately, plus 30 million Russians in general. But how many Americans died fighting Hitler? Isn't that an insult to all the Americans who died in World War II? Oh, Hitler was, oh, really? So these Americans died in vain. If Hitler was a good guy, then your grandparents who died or fought, they died in vain. They fought in vain. They got blinded or shell-shocked in vain. But people don't have they don't have either courage or a moral compass to distinguish between good and bad. So you don't like Jews, you don't like Jews, fine. I'm not asking you. As I said, I'm repeating myself, forgive me. But hating Jews is a very bad thing.
Dennis, what's the difference between a Jew saying there are still people who hate Jews versus a black person on the left saying there are still people who hate blacks?
Yes, there are people who hate blacks. That's correct. But there are people who hate every group. Therefore what? The question is how many? What percentage of whites in America hate blacks? It's tiny. The percentage is tiny. Okay? What was it? Larry Elder, who he could reel off these statistics. If you woke him up at 3 a.m., he's gifted in that way. I'm not gifted in that way to know statistics by heart, but he shows how many whites voted for Obama, and that. What was it? The percentage of whites who voted for Obama was smaller than the percentage of whites who voted for some white candidate. I don't remember what it was. This is the least racist, multi-ethnic country on the face of the earth in the history of the world. Here's a statistic no kid at Harvard knows. Okay, at Harvard, I'm picking the creme de la creme, and that is that ask a kid at Harvard. How many slaves, how many black slaves were brought to the United States in the transatlantic slave trade? And then ask them, how many blacks came to the United States voluntarily in the last 50 years? The first one is 360,000. The second number is 3 million. Are they stupid, by the way? If America's systemically racist, every black who moves here is an idiot. You can't have it both ways. And as I always say, any Jews moved to Germany in the 1930s? Not one. Right? Because that was systemically racist. Blacks moved to the United States because it's the best country on earth for a black to live, period. And they know it. Only the left denies it.
What was the number again? 360 and 3 million?
360,000 versus 3 million. That's correct. And, I take a risk with any one of these numbers because if it's wrong, I lose my reputation. But I've been broadcasting 40 years, and truth is my number one goal. Those are the data. And you know where I got the data on the 3 million from? William Safire in the New York Times in the 1980s. That's the amazing thing. That's where I got it.
Last thing here, a couple minutes. So, Holocaust, you got slavery, okay? We're not comparing two different tragedies, so that's not what we're going to be doing. We're not sitting here and saying which is worse, which is this. I'm not doing that.
I would. By the way, I believe in gradations of evil. Slavery is despicable and evil, but in the final analysis, you could at least live. In the final analysis, the Jews weren't slaves. Jews would have given their right arm to be slaves. They were exterminated. There is a difference, and people need to know that. I do make moral distinctions. If we don't, we lose our humanity.
That's not the question I was going to. My question wasn't that. My question was going to be, why after such a dramatic event that happened to Jews, okay, with the intentions of wanting to eliminate every single Jew on the face of the planet, right? This is what Hitler's vision was, right? Why is it years later, after a crisis like that, what values and principles helped Jews pretty much own Hollywood, do well in business, do well in life?
Oh, I'll tell you. I have the answer
go
for you.
it. Yeah.
They didn't see themselves as victims. It is the most paralyzing thing in black life, what the left is doing to blacks. The left hates you blacks. No, they don't hate you. They have contempt for you. Telling you you're a victim is paralyzing. Jews did not walk around thinking they're victims even after the Holocaust.
Why not?
because they knew it is completely self-destructive.
How did they know?
I don't know. It's a great, well, maybe because of the Jewish tradition has always been, we take responsibility for our own suffering.
So why wouldn't the media try to target the Jews to make them feel victims? How come they didn't succeed with Jews?
The media doesn't have contempt for Jews. It has contempt
Why
for
not,
blacks.
though? Why not?
Because the left has contempt for blacks. Because they use them. They don't use Jews.
Why? Why can't they use Jews? If they can use any sect, they would do it. So why can't they use Jews?
Well, Jews are disproportionately on the left. I mean, there's no way around it. So in effect, there's no need to keep.
They already
Jews
have them in a sense.
Yeah, in a sense, yes.
I got you. I got you.
Mm-hmm. So Jews aren't victims because they take responsibility. That's true. We've been kicked out of over 100 countries. So if we played the victim card, we wouldn't be around today. And, well, Jewish people are eternal people. So we will always be around. I suggest it has to do with our value system. It has to do with the Torah that inculcates us with our values. And the Torah, God there tells us very clearly how we have to take personal responsibility for our lives, for our families, for our communities. And we always have to think of the other. One of the reasons why the Nazis, or the deepest reason perhaps for why the Nazis wanted to exterminate the Jews, because they actually destroyed their philosophy. Hitler said there are only two nations, Jews and Germans. How's that possible? Because the Germans, at the core of Nazism, was the belief of survival of the fittest. And survival of the fittest means you have to get rid of those that are not fit. So all those with psychiatric issues, all those of the riffraff of society need to be exterminated so you can have a pure race. You have a pure race, then the Third Reich could reign for 1,000 years. Well, the problem with that is that the Jewish people believe in equaling the playing field, and therefore there will not be a pure race. We have to take responsibility not only for our lives and for our families, but for the community life and for those who are down and out. So we're always there thinking of another and helping and lifting up their lives. So since we're always doing that, we can't be a victim, because those who are a victim, we got to be there to help them. So they should turn their lives around and move forward in their personal lives. So we're always doing that. I'd like to share a thought about anti-Semitism. How do you fight anti-Semitism? I'm not certain always to shine a light on it is the best thing. As I told the story earlier about when I was the chaplain at McGill University and the swastikas on the front sidewalk in front of Chabad house. Sometimes just, transform it into something else and don't shine a light on it, because when you do, you just bring the evildoers to come and focus in on that evil. And that's not a good idea. Sometimes you have to call it out at times. That's true. And sometimes it's better leave it be. The greatest way, though, to fight anti-Semitism is what we call pro-Semitism. I'm living in Montreal for 44 years almost. My wife, thank God, raised a large family here. And I almost could say that in a real way, I never confronted anti-Semitism. Did everybody I confront like Jews? Well, I wouldn't say that. But I wasn't confronted with real anti-Semitism. The swastikas, I wasn't confronted by it. I haven't been. So is there anti-Semitism? There is. I'm an identifiable Jew that if anybody should have been confronted with anti-Semitism, I should have in the last 44 years here in Montreal. I haven't. But I'm not blind to the fact that there is. But how do you fight it? This is the way I fight it. Pro-Semitism means you take care of others and are there for others. I run a drug crisis center that helps non-Jews. I might have in my wallet from one of the from the Greek community. He's not Jewish, Greek, and we saved his life in our addiction crisis center called Chabad Lifeline. See, he was so thankful that he has a business card, and on that business card he writes, "Support your local Chabad." Whenever I see him on the street, says Rabbi, "Fine, thank you. You saved my life." When we do good for others, and especially when you're an identifiable Jew, and the good could sometimes just be to the checkout person at the counter, just saying a warm, "Good evening, how are you? Hope you're having a good day. God bless you." Most people don't say that. Most people are not, don't care about that person who's at the checkout counter and just, but the fact that you acknowledge another, bless another, that's pro-Semitism. And the more we do good for others as Jews, the more we'll get there. Will there still be those who hate us nonetheless? Absolutely. But slowly but surely we chip away at it, and we will change the world for good. Let's join together in doing that.